This week at Bungie, we're taking a deeper look at how rewards and power levels are going to be changing very soon within the world of the game. Additionally, we also had a new quest and community event go live this week that, after an initial day's worth of feedback, saw some very necessary changes, and I'm super thankful for that. If you've been missing out on the Destiny 2 news, sit tight. We're going to be covering all that and more in this video because it's another Thursday, which means another issue of the Bungie Weekly blog this week at Bungie for the week of May 14th, 2020. Now, let's go ahead and dive on into it. We've got a lot of stuff to cover this week. First things first, earlier this week we had the Fellwinter's Lie quest go live. You head to Anna Bray, you pick it up, and it required quite a few Seraph Tower completions. Of course, Seraph Towers are the public events that came along with the Seraph Bunkers with the Season of the Worthy, and we had to basically complete 3 million of each of those public events on the 3 different world spaces in which they spawn. Of course, that's the EDZ, the Moon, and Io, for a total of 9 million tower public event completions. This was, needless to say, way overboard for the difficulty level that those events provided, and of course the ongoing greater issues with matchmaking and patrol spaces. It's way too hard to find consistent groups running this right now. And when you mix that in with the enhanced difficulty that those tower events had ever since all 3 bunkers went live, it just was not looking like this was going to be something that was finished before the end of the season. Thankfully, Bungie took in a lot of that feedback, and they've done what they can in the meantime to make completing the event a little bit faster. If you missed out on their update, here's what they did yesterday to fix the Lie quest and make it a little bit more user-friendly. We've made adjustments to the Lie quest and Seraph Tower difficulty. Champions have reduced power level and event progression has been slightly tuned. Now you get basically 10 percentage points towards completion whenever you move one of the orbs from the side towers into the main tower whenever you're running the event. So you complete it a little bit faster and a little bit more consistently now. It's great. Additionally, effective immediately, quest progression has been given a 5 times multiplier, which will be increased to 10 times on weekends. Basically, in my opinion, ensuring that we have this done, if not by Sunday, then early next week. Great changes, Bungie. It was definitely not going to happen the way it was before, and I'm very happy to see that they've made these changes, which have made the Seraph Tower events much more simple for those players out there who maybe don't have a full fire team, well, at least as full as you can bring into a patrol space to run these events. Good stuff. And again, for those who are unaware, at the end of this quest, we are going to be receiving the legendary Destiny 1 Year 1 Iron Banner shotgun, Fellwinter's Lie. The lie, of course, being that it's a shotgun. It's really more like a sniper rifle because it comes complete with the classic shot package perk. Ooh, a worthy reward if I've ever seen one. But now let's go ahead and dive on into some of the bigger bits of news that dropped in this week's swap. Because, of course, for the past couple of weeks, we've been getting massive news bombs from Bungie about the way they're going to be fundamentally changing Destiny moving forward. And this week, we get to hear again from the Destiny 2 dev team about how they're going to be changing power levels and how we reach max power levels in coming seasons. I think even as early as Season 11. So, here's what they had to say. Today, we're going to talk about changes to the infusion system that are coming to Destiny 2. These changes are going to be visible starting in Season 11, but won't start impacting your arsenal until Season 12. More on that in a bit. We want the sandbox to feel interesting, exciting, and dynamic, and to evolve in compelling ways over time in the same way that the game evolves. Our weapons are the primary way that players interact with the world, and season over season, we want players to discover new weapons that feel powerful, have interesting new perks to explore, and power the builds that players craft in new and unexpected ways. The changes to the infusion system we're talking about today are designed to promote the following. We want you to more frequently earn and enjoy more powerful and standout gear. Right now, if a new legendary weapon isn't better than the current best in class, there is no reason to replace your existing weapon with it. If a new legendary weapon is better than the current best in class, we risk power creep, removing challenge from the game or making the item mandatory / the only option for challenging activities. Both above points apply equally to new mods and perks as well. Powerful weapons can be era-defining, but eventually those eras need to end so that new eras can begin. We want strong weapons to have their time in the sun, and whenever possible, we want you to expect and prepare for powerful gear to cycle out of the in-game meta. We can't solve this by just making weapons that are always better than the previous ones. This will steadily lower time to kill in both PvP and PvE until the combat sandbox is neither fun nor tactical. We also want to foster a gradually evolving meta that regularly promotes experimentation and debate. We believe Destiny is at its best when you have new desirable things to pursue, and when you have active debates with your clanmates about which of these new things to bring into the new raid or which is going to be hot in trials next season. With those goals stated, let's break down how the changes will work. Each legendary weapon and piece of armor will have a max power level it can reach through infusion. Exotics themselves, however, will not have a max power level. The max power level for these items will be set at the player power cap attainable 3 seasons after its release, essentially meaning that weapon will remain relevant for 4 seasons total. This means all legendary gear has a 1-year span of time during which it can be used in activities where being at or near the player power cap is important, difficult and power-enabled activities basically. The max power level for these items will be visible in-game in Season 11, but no items will be at their max power level at the start of Season 11, so you'll just be able to see these changes when next season rolls around. This means all of your gear will be relevant in all activities during Season 11. You'll also be able to see what the max power level is for all of your gear and plan accordingly. At the start of Season 12, weapons and armor released in Seasons 1 through 8 will have a max power level at the Season 11 player power cap, while gear from Seasons 9, 10, 11, and 12 will all be infusible to the new player power caps for 1 year after their release. So essentially the stuff that you've been earning and playing with since the start of Shadowkeep, I do believe, is going to be reaching its cap by the time Season 12 rolls around. Weapons and armor from the Last Wish and Garden of Salvation raids will be granted exceptions and will have a higher max power level. Good. That was one of the places my mind immediately went to when we heard about this. Of course, this is talking about sunsetting weapons, which is a concept that they brought about to the forefront of the conversation a few weeks back. It's something they used to do back in Destiny 1. And when it comes to Destiny 2, I was certainly worried about raid weapons and armor. You're kind of invalidating those previous in-game activities by limiting the stuff that you can get from there. So I'm happy to see that that Garden of Salvation and Last Wish stuff is going to be in a separate category. Very happy to hear about that. And then, of course, we get this awesome screen cap of what this new infusion system is going to look like. And here you see the Loud Lullaby Moon hand cannon. We can see the current power level on it of 950, its power level limit of 1060, and the seasonal power cap of 1060 as well. So starting next season, you'll be able to see this kind of information on all the gear you get and all the gear you've currently got in your inventory. You'll be able to see exactly how high you can take the power level of every bit of gear that you've got. But moving on, those are the basics. But you may have additional questions, such as, can I still use gear that has reached its max power level? Which, of course, the answer is yes. You will always be able to equip and use any piece of gear. Reaching the player power cap is beneficial, but not strictly required for most activities in Destiny. You can continue to equip and use all gear in these activities. For the next question, this applies to armor as well as weapons? Yes, all legendary gear that provides power will have a max power level. Starting in Season 12, armor will no longer have a seasonally rotating 4th mod slot. Instead, there will be a mod slot that accepts mods introduced into the game throughout a full year. We recognize that the current need to replace your armor every 2 or 3 seasons and hoard armor from past seasons is undesirable. That I can agree with. Transmogrification, which we talked about in the TWAB last week, will give you the ability to keep your favorite looks and apply them to new armor pieces with higher max power levels. You can still look however you want with a transmog system that they're going to be introducing at a later date. When gear drops after its debut season, what will its max power level be? It will have the same max power level as it did in its initial release season. Note, this is going to be different than gear that is reissued, which I guess they're going to answer in the next question. Will gear ever have its max power level updated? Not directly, but gear can be reissued in future seasons. These reissued versions will have a new max power level based on the season in which it is reissued. So you're going to say, hey, finally, Bungie's not going to be recycling armor and weapons anymore. Well, let me stop you right there, kid. Yeah, they're probably still going to be recycling some of the weapons and armor that say they haven't been using since year 1 or 2 and stuff like that. Finally, we're going to experiment with how and when gear is reissued into the game throughout year 4. Let us know what you think of the different methods as you experience them. We're sure you'll have more questions that aren't covered above, so please let us know. And then they finish things up by saying this: "We're committed to Destiny 2 continuing to grow and evolve for years to come. And a part of that continued evolution is the curation of an interesting, exciting, and dynamic player sandbox. The introduction of max power level will allow us to create exciting new gear more frequently without significant concerns of permanent power creep, which is unsustainable in any game. This also should open up creative and experimental builds season over season, while letting you anticipate and prepare for how the sandbox will change over time. Please continue to share your thoughts and feelings about these changes as you get your hands on them." And there we go. That's the big section about how power level and infusion is going to be changing. Basically, you're going to have a new max power level that's going to be attainable for the gear that you have based on the season that you got it in. This is going to be a part of that sunsetting system they talked about before. I don't really have too much to say about this section other than the notion of power creep. This is something Bungie's brought up quite often. You guys know I've had my opinions on sunsetting gear. I didn't like it back in Destiny 1. I don't necessarily like the idea here in Destiny 2. And the excuse for it is always power creep, which I don't think, given the history of Destiny and Bungie and how they've devved this game, has ever really been that legitimate of a concern. But I'm willing to test out this new system and see exactly where they're going with it. And so, with that being said, I'm officially in wait-and-see mode. But that's not the only big topic we've got to talk about in this week's TWAP. We've got one more really big thing to cover concerning the reward structure in Destiny 2. This time, we get to hear again from creative lead Robbie Stevens about how exactly we're going to be earning seasonal rewards in the future. This section is kind of an addendum to what we learned about in previous weeks about how seasonal rewards are going to drop from core activities like Crucible and Strikes and whatnot. So we're going to be learning a little bit more about that here. In Season 11, seasonal rewards will drop from completing core activities, again those Strikes and Crucible and Gambit, as well as basically every other activity in the game, which we've got a full list that we're going to go through. Robbie states that their goal is to make the entire game feel rewarding, so that every play session can give you a chance at earning seasonal loot. And that in addition to new rewards, Season 11 is also going to feature 2 returning weapons, each from the Season of the Undying, Season of the Dawn, and Season of the Worthy, for a total of 6 weapons that are free for all players. But how exactly are you going to grind for these things? How are you going to focus towards that one reward that you really want to get? Well, you're going to be doing this through the use of a new Redacted type of engram. This specific type of engram is going to contain the majority of Season 11 rewards, and by spending seasonal currency, you can actually influence the contents of that engram. And they go on to give us an example that goes like this. Imagine this engram contained all of the Season of the Worthy weapons and armor. Now imagine you could take this engram to a Seraph bunker and spend seasonal currency to focus the contents of the engram so that it only contained the 7th Seraph SMG and the shotgun. By focusing this Redacted engrams in Season 11, you can choose your rewards. This includes the ability, once you've earned it, to focus engrams so they only contain Season 11 armor with high stat packages. All free players and Season Pass owners will receive Redacted engrams while playing Season 11. However, only Season Pass owners can access the full suite of focusing categories in Season 11. And then we get a quick preview of the focusing categories that all players will be able to access after completing the Season 11 opening quest. Season 11 armor focusing reduces the number of rewards in the engram so it can only contain Season 11 armor, and previous season weapon focusing converts the rewards in the engram so it only contains the 6 weapons that are returning from Season of the Undying, Dawn, and Worthy. And when Season 11 launches, all players will get 3 focusing categories, and Season Pass owners will have access to an additional 15, so that you can focus your rewards even more. If you ask me, this kind of is taking the idea of the chalice of opulence from the menagerie and adding it, into maybe a grander engram sort of scheme here. It's not a bad idea, to be perfectly honest. It's really kind of like the targeted loot system available in games like The Division 2. And anything that allows players to focus more towards the gear that they're actually trying to earn definitely gets a thumbs up from me. This is going to be great for the people out there who are specifically trying to farm up items for their own particular build. This is the thing that made the menagerie so good. If you wanted that great replica IS Luna, you could go in there, you knew the combination for it, you completed it, you got the items you needed. You put in the combination for that hand cannon and boom, you got it. If it wasn't the roll that you wanted, you could do it again. This is going to be a system that's a little bit more convoluted than that, but is going to be working on a similar principle. I love it. I love the way this sounds. Additionally, we've got a list of activities that are going to reward these new redacted engrams in Season 11. Of course, starting with 2 redacted activities, hopefully one of those is a raid, but you'll be able to earn these engrams from public events, strikes, gambit, crucible, dungeons, raids, adventures, nightmare hunts, forges, reckoning, the menagerie, escalation protocol, and blind well. Basically, any repeatable activity that you want to run within the game, you will be able to do to earn these redacted engrams. This is fantastic. This means you can finally play the way you want. If you're the type of person who just likes to log on and jump into the patrols and do heroic public events, you can do that and still focus towards the gear that you want. If you're one of my boys out there who does nothing but play PvP in the Crucible, you can just do that and focus on the rewards that you want to get. This is a fantastic change. Really happy to see Bungie moving in this direction, and I cannot wait for this system to go live with Season 11. Now, finally, of course, in addition to the list above, redacted engrams also have a chance to drop when defeating combatants anywhere in the system, similar to legendary engrams. They share the same loot pool as legendary engrams, and when you hit that loot pool, you have a 66% chance to earn a redacted engram and a 34% chance to earn a legendary engram. So you're going to have plenty of opportunities to earn these drops moving forward. But alright Guardians, there we go. That's it for the biggest bits of news to drop in this week's issue of the Bungie Weekly blog, This Week at Bungie. Major changes coming to power levels, major changes coming with that redacted engram. I love the way that system sounds. Being able to log on to the game, play whatever content I want, and still farm towards, say, the 7th Seraph CQC12? This is a great idea, and I can't wait for it to be implemented. But those are my thoughts. Be sure to leave me yours down in the comment section below. How do you feel about the power level changes? Do you like the idea of sunsetting weapons and armor? Do you like the idea of this new redacted engram? How would you modify and improve upon this system? Be sure to leave me your thoughts. If you enjoyed the video, feel free to drop a like, make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell to stay up to date with all the latest stuff we're putting out. But I'm out for now. Thank you all so much for watching. And as always, I am the Black Link. You Guardians, stay frosty.